Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to Hilaal Live. Thanks for joining us on Channel 347. Always a pleasure having you in our company. It's Thursday where we chat about family-oriented discussions, about our kiddos, about our parents, and we bring in subject matter experts to give us much needed advice. Today's topic is keeping the lines of communication open, and we're going to open up the WhatsApp lines a bit later, but let me introduce my guests. Back in studio, Sister Gakeemah Solomons. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam, how are you?
Alhamdulillah, Jazakallah for coming back into studio. We really appreciate it. And then she's brought along a guest who is a professional life coach who specializes in relationships, self-awareness, discover your purpose, identify your blockages. It's Sister Fatima Jumat Jacobs.
Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakallah for coming into studio.
Shukran
Always
for
great
having me.
having someone like yourself who's knowledgeable and worked in this space as well. The WhatsApp line's open if you'd like to communicate with us and be part of the show. 079 085 2511. Let us know some of your thoughts, your concerns, or even a question that you may have. And we're talking about keeping the lines of communication open, especially in the family structure. Sister Fatima, in your experience, why is communication skills important, especially when it comes to that very odd, weird teenage years that people go through? Alhamdulillah, I've got the best teenagers. Seriously, I don't go through that. But a large amount of families struggle to communicate, especially during those teenage years. More so now because we've got the WhatsApp stage and we've got social media and we've got screen time, and forget about all the extramural activities that these poor kids have to do at school as well, and the homework. But why is it important to keep that communication open, especially with teenagers and youth?
Yeah, so I think to keep the lines of communication open is to just establish or strengthen the connection within the family.
Okay.
I joked with my husband the other day. He asked if I remembered his room was at the back, and his dad used to call him inside on the phone and say, come inside, come switch over the TV.
Right.
He just wanted him to come switch over the TV.
Gotcha.
But
he was the remote.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, these are the things that we joke about now, right? But there's no connection within family. There's no sitting around the table talking about things. How was your day? What happened for the day? You see your children when the Wi-Fi disconnects and then everyone shows their heads what happened to the Wi-Fi, or when they have to eat.
Yeah, or where there's load shedding.
You know what? But nobody's in tune with one another's feelings anymore.
Right.
And so obviously that rolls into adulthood where there's no connection. And an adult who then gets married and there's no connection. And it rolls in and it just starts a new generation of where we all just we all sitting in a room on our phones chatting to one another and not talking to each other. So it's extremely important for us to be able to communicate and just connect with one another.
I've got a friend, he does this. So what he does when it's meal time, then he switches the Wi-Fi off.
Yeah.
Because everyone then sits around the table and eat instead of sitting with the food on their lap, watching TV, watching a movie, watching their laptop, having their phone in their hand. We often are guilty of that. We all do it. We all do it. We cannot. None of us can say we're not guilty of it. But it's about changing that habit, right?
Yeah.
And becoming more connected.
Yeah.
I think COVID's taught us that a little bit.
Definitely.
We communicated a lot more in our family because we were all now confined
to one space.
to one space. We got in each other's nerves. But at the same time, it allowed us to connect back to that as well. I mean, Sister Gakeemah, you've got a young lady as well, and she's at that age. Does she give you one-word answers?
No, not really anymore.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, we passed that. So it's also the fact that as parents you need to educate yourself and try and assist your teenager. So many of us used to say, like, how you, and then they would give you the one-liner. So we had to obviously build that. I'm going to have to ask you in detail the question. But also when it comes to communication, I actually wanted to find out the examples of poor family communication.
Yeah. So usually how poor communication will present itself is when there's a slamming of the door, or when there's you don't understand me, or when there's a tantrum, or when so many times when the teenagers sit in my chair and I ask them, so why are you here? My mother doesn't understand me, or my father, that's how it starts. No one understands me. That's always the first question. And then I just ask them, so what are you doing to make yourself understandable? And you almost see that twitch in the eye, like, I didn't actually come here for you to make this about me.
Right.
Because we don't actually want to take accountability. So when I ask the question, even in adults, what are you doing to make yourself understandable? So I use the example with teenagers. Imagine you're going to like a restaurant and you stand in front of the teller and you look at her and she looks at you and 5 minutes later she's got your order. Is that realistic? Will that even happen? Right? Absolutely not. She's only going to be able to know you want a beef burger without mayonnaise, no tomato, if you actually are able to say that in words, right? And so when you're saying to me, your mother or your parent don't understand you, what have you done to make yourself understandable? You know, and so the sad thing is, it's nice to have that answer to that question afterwards when the person or the child realizes that. But now you have to send the child back to a parent who's also set in his ways, because now you've given the child the tools as to how to communicate, but he goes back to a parent essentially who is, I'm the parent and you don't get to say anything, and you know. And so you have to give them tools as into how to deal with these kind of things. Mom, I know that you said this, but can I just have a minute of your time? And so you need to basically unlearn, you know, what you think is your communication skills and learn new communication skills.
But I just want to ask Sister Fatima, with the kids that sit in front of you, look, I know it's a private space and we don't want to reveal names, but I'm talking about instances that you can describe to our viewers on how to better understand what a teenager is going through, because that is where the issues lie, where us as parents may not understand fully how teenagers interpret a situation. To us it may seem fine, and we're like, what's the big fuss? But to them it's a big world, it's a big thing, because their world is so small that they make this a big thing, and it can often then get a ripple effect of problems, create problems. But what are some of the reasons our teenagers find themselves not understandable?
Okay, so you know, when you go from the toddler stage, or you know, into teenaging, so when you're a toddler or younger, then you basically depend and you rely on your parents. So in fact, you as a parent will reprimand the child and for something, you know, and say, and the child will automatically, as a toddler now, he'll blame himself and he'll say, what did I do to make my mom angry? So they internalize it as they to blame, right? So when you go to the teenage space, then there's a little of autonomy that now wants to develop. You want to be your own person. And so I think when they feel non-understandable is because now there's a little resistance. You don't understand me because you're not going through the things I'm going through. So how can you understand me? How can you say no to me? I want to go to this function. No one's going to like me if I don't go, but you don't understand that I need to go to be popular.
Okay, so social pressure.
So, exactly. Yeah, number one. Number two is in terms of clothing. You know, you don't understand me. I need to have a name brand thing. You don't understand me. So it's more superficially almost, if you want to say it, when it in the beginning. Because remember, when I say autonomy, you're also trying to get to know yourself as a teenager. You don't know yourself yet, and you don't know. That's why the next thing is when I ask them, make yourself understandable, there's a long pause, because we as parents don't realize how much our children still depend on us to basically teach them, right? And then as teenagers, we don't. How many of us as adults say now, you know what? Had I known this before,
of course,
you know,
that light bulb moment.
Exactly. Even you understand your parents more now as adults. You know why they did what they did. But remember now, you know, when you now rewind yourself back to a teenager, your mom didn't understand because there was no connection, or there was no, when the parents speak to the child, you don't try to meet the child on that level. You
but
know,
we're growing up in different times. I get it. When our parents, when I grew up a lot older than you guys, but when I grew up, children are supposed to be seen and not heard. Feel good issues were swept under the carpet. As we progressed in years, that changed. You know, it's still changing. You know, but some people are still stuck in the way. However, speaking about parents, do you find that their upbringing is a big reflection on that breakdown in communication?
Definitely, absolutely. Because how we parent rolls into from where we came from, you know. And so it's important that we become self-aware and realize that, you know, I want a different kind of dynamic in my family. And once you know that, And once you recognize that, ultimately, essentially, you'll make the change accordingly.
But yeah, making that change is where, and you were referring to that as well, is where some of the issues do come in, and some of the arguments and some of the misunderstandings. So there's got to be a willingness, right?
Yeah.
From the parent to make that change and to understand what their youngster's going through.
Yeah.
All right. The WhatsApp line's open, 07908525511. Do get in touch with us. Let us know. We've got one or two that's come through. We're going to cover that after the break. But let us know if you have any questions, queries, concerns with regards to tonight's topic, which is keeping the lines of communication open in the family dynamic. And we're talking about what our teenagers are going through, what our parents are going through, and sometimes what guardians are going through as well, because invariably, guardians had to take on, looking after children. We've had the onset of COVID that's played a massive role in that. So let us know your thoughts and be part of this conversation. Share your history and your details with us as well. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll chat to Gakeemah and Fatima in studio. Do join us on Channel 347. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Hilaal Live. Thanks for watching us on Channel 347. On tonight's topic, keeping the lines of communication open, we have guests in studio, Sister Gakeemah and Sister Fatima, who is chatting to us and giving us much needed advice around this very important topic. You are welcome to join us on the WhatsApp line, 079 085 2511. And speaking about the WhatsApp, we had the most cutest WhatsApp that came through, and I'm going to read it out. And I'm going to maybe make Fatima blush a little bit because it says, Assalamu alaikum. My name is Talabuddin, that's your son, Jacobs, and I am Fatima's child. And I just want you guys to tell her I'm watching because she was nervous. So please tell her she's doing a great job. Mom, you're doing a great job. Shukran so much, my boy, for that lovely message. How sweet is that, hey?
Yeah.
That's a very cute message. Before the break, we were chatting about the miscommunication between, teenagers and parents, but more importantly, referring to the parents' background and how that could influence the breakdown in communication. Would you like to tell us a bit more?
Yeah, I actually just wanted to say, just going back to the level toddler to teenager. When your child is a baby, right, you basically teach him vocabulary. You literally feeding him vocab. Cat, dog, how you feeling? Are you sad? And so what a lot of parents, a lot of us do, we then now, once the child becomes comprehensive, he can speak, he can tell you, we don't provide the accurate or the correct vocabulary into teenagehood anymore. We don't tell them how to navigate through emotions. We don't help them, saying, how do you feel about this? What is your feeling? Or we don't even model it as parents because we don't think it's important. You understand me, I understand you, we both can speak. And so there's no need for us to provide the children with the correct vocabulary as to how to express themselves into teenage.
Look, I think a large amount of that is that we always feel that our kids are always babies. They're always our babies. And we remember them from those little toddler, not realizing the evolution that they've gone through to become little humans and have their own mind. Like my daughter's the most amazing thinker. And she comes up with wonderful stuff. And I encourage it because, it allows me to evolve at the same time as well and just keep up. I struggle to keep up because I'm still thinking she's this little girl, and then you want to protect her and all of that. But is that what parents go through?
That's beautiful that you're saying that you allow her the space so she open to think and feel what she wants to, obviously with guidance from you. But what I found especially beautiful was where you said it allows you to evolve. And I don't think that we realize how much we can actually learn from our children. You just need to open yourself up to that space, and I learn from my children every single day. And I try to tell them, I what, I didn't look at it or didn't see it from that point of view. Thank you for saying that,
Acknowledging.
Exactly. And it goes such a long way.
I agree. On the WhatsApp line, 079 085 2511, do join us. Let us know your thoughts as a teenager, as a young adult, or even as a parent. The lessons that you learn constantly. Gakeemah, let's continue this wonderful discussion.
There was one more of those questions that I wanted to find out. Just before the break, we were speaking about a teenager that slams the door. And many times they get angry at us for probably saying a word or two. How do I, as a parent, speak to my teenager, especially when they're angry in that moment of time?
Don't speak to him when he's angry.
Don't speak.
Good advice.
Yeah, don't.
Let them calm down.
Yeah, exactly. Because when you speak to anybody in a state of anger, it's literally like you speaking Chinese and they are hearing it in Hindu or Arabic, you know. That is what's happening. That is how non-effective a conversation with anybody that's angry is going to be if you're going to force it. So allow them a moment to feel that, you know, whatever they're going through, feel it. And then when you come back to that, as a parent, what I've come to realize is you need to have an intention. Intention with what do I want the outcome to be here? Do I want to win?
Yeah.
Do I want to belittle my child? Do I want to prove a point? Exactly. Or is this going to be, do I want my child to learn from this? Right? So once you've got that, then you know how to approach it. So now you'll go and if you want to prove a point, you know how you're going to go in that room.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
If you want to win the argument, you know how you're going to go into that room. But once you've calmed down and realized, you know, this can't be how my child reacts. So this is not how I want to send him out in the world.
Right.
So I quickly need to forget about me winning here. And I need to now put on the cap of, let's figure out a way for you not to react this, because tomorrow you're going to slam someone else's door. And that's not what I want.
But how often do we find that very difficult for parents to get over that hurdle of calming down,
or walking away?
But look, we live in such a volatile world where, let's face it, jobs, parents go through a lot because the stresses. No excuse to raise your voice or handle that situation any different. And some parents watching this may say, but you know what, I'm the parent.
Yeah.
You know, I should be leading whatever I say. I pay the bills. I take you to school. I provide for you. So whatever I say goes. Yeah. What do you say to that parent?
And all of that can be absolutely on point. That's the truth. You are the lead of the hierarchy in your household, right? But does that then mean the approach needs to be disrespect? You know, I remember I had a client who wanted to apply for a team leader job.
Okay.
And she said to me she can't be a team leader because she's not strict and stern. Okay. And so she's never applied. She's worked there the longest. And so she just can't get herself to do that. I asked her, why do you need to be strict and stern? Why can't you be a team leader using what strengths you have in your character and make that work? In fact, 2 weeks ago, she messaged me to say she's now the team leader's team leader.
Brilliant.
You know, so if all of that can be the truth, you can be the person who pays the bills. That just doesn't mean that there needs to be disrespect in how you speak, you know, in how you tolerate, in how you don't need to tolerate the child not listening to you. And I always make the example with regards to clear communication. You tell your child, pick up the laundry. That's what you say, that's the instruction. The child hears it and he says to himself, I'm going to pick up the laundry, but I just want to, this is now internally. The parent says it in his mind, the child communicates in his mind. My mom said, I need to pick up the laundry. I'm going to do it, but I'm just going to finish this game.
Right.
So there was an instruction. The mom comes back and says, you didn't do this, yes, you don't listen. The child then says, but I was going to do it. So had you tried, can you please pick up this laundry or this washing for me before 6 o'clock?
Okay.
Made it a more specific request, right? And now the child knows, I want to play this game quickly, but I need to be done before 6 because my mom wanted me to pick up this laundry before 6. Or you could have then said, Mom, is it okay for me? I'm just in this game quickly. Is it okay for me to finish this game first? Clear communication.
Gotcha.
You know what you wanted, exactly when you wanted it done by. And so the child could communicate clearly, you know, what his thoughts were.
I like that.
Both of them understanding each other.
That's a wonderful example, and I hope we all benefiting from that.
Yeah.
Because I'm surely going to use that as well, because that's where it is. It's clear communication.
Yeah.
And if we're not clear, the breakdown happens, and the ripple effect, the adverse happens.
Definitely, and taking away nothing of the parent's authority. You still gave the instruction. That doesn't mean I can't give my child an instruction now because we need to be woke, you know, we need to be parents who are friendly with our kids.
Right.
I'm still the parent, I still give you an instruction. Now it's only clear as to what I want, when I want it.
Gotcha.
Loving it.
Gakeemah?
Also, as a parent, the rules as a teen, how do I communicate with parents who don't listen? And you said that in the beginning, a teenager will come to you and sit in your chair and say, my parents don't understand what I'm saying. So as a parent looking at the other part, how do I get that message through?
To the child?
Correct.
Okay, the child who doesn't listen.
Yes.
Okay, so when you, like I said, made the example now, so first of all, for a parent to be on the same level as the child, meet him there, meet him where he's at, because we made the example with anger, right? But if the child's frustrated, or if he's sad, or if he's feeling, unhappy about something, and you're suddenly coming and springing all of these other ideas, which means you're disregarding what he's going through in that moment, there's going to be butting of heads, right? So it's important. I always say, when we're talking to one another and we're not meeting each other in the situation or the space where we are, it's literally Chinese and Arabic. You're not hearing it, because I want to enforce what I'm thinking and you want to enforce what you're saying. And so there's obvious a complete miscommunication, or there's no regulation, or there's a disconnect, So number one, so you first of all, for a parent who wants to communicate that to his child, is to feel where he's at, communicate from his level of where he's at the moment.
And at the same level, look, we have children that have to commute between two households. Because of divorce, because of whatever reason, right? Therein also lies certain rules and regulation that needs to happen, because they are also being confused by this back and forth. Different rules, and parents need to be on the same page so that the stability of the child can move towards an upward trend, right? Very quickly, in closing, last advice: should parents and teenagers find themselves in a bit of a compromising situation where neither one can get through to each other, what advice would you give?
I think the advice is, and this is what I even give married couples, it's not you versus one another, right? It's the situation and the two of you together. So it's a situation versus the two of us. And so what we need to do is understand we're both on the same side. I want what's best for you as a parent. You know that I love you, and I'm acting from a point where I don't know better, and I want what's best for you, but we're on the same side, right? So if I can give parents advice, any advice, is just that, don't go into it like you're fighting one another, right? Go into it like we're in the fight together. And once that foundation is established, you're then essentially going to work as a team as to how to figure this out together. Intention is everything.
Beautiful. Well said. We can chat about this for hours. But Sister Fatima, jazakallah so much for coming into studio. I learned a lot, and I'm sure our audience did as well. Gakeemah, we'll have you back soon with another guest, inshallah. Jazakallah for coming into studio. Appreciate it. And to you, our viewer, thanks for watching us on Channel 347. We'll be back tomorrow between 5 and 6. From the Cape Town team, Sohail Barnes, Mohammed Parker, and from myself, Luqman Shadrack, have a great evening. Assalamu alaikum.